On this episode, we're going to review a past event from last October of 2021 by ICW No Holds Barred that features the ICW American Deathmatch Championship between champion John Wayne Murdoch versus Dale Patrick, who made some headways in ICW for months. We're also going to go with NWA PowerrrSurge, which is being hosted by the Fixers, Jay Bradley and Wrecking Ball Legursky. However, they booked themselves in a match in the main event, and plus there were two other matches that were booked there too. We even got AEW Dark with 7 stack matches, and we cannot forget NXT 2.0. We have 2 matches involving the men's Dusty Cup tournament. We even going to see who will walk out to challenge Carmelo Hayes for the North American title. Will that be Tony D'Angelo or Cameron Grimes? And also some news updates regarding LA Fights, former WWE superstar Gentleman Jack, and of course, some interesting developments taking place with Stardom's faction known as Cosmic Angels. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay Rod here. So, let's begin with ICW No Holds Barred with the Pit 5 that took place on the 2nd of October of 2021. First match, we have Jake Crist taking on the Silver Tooth Satan, Acticus Kroger. As you know, this is one of those matches. These two guys are also Ohio natives, but however, they hate each other no matter what, because as you know, Acticus Kroger has always been the guy who says he is the best deathmatch wrestler that he is, that he will stop at nothing to get to the top. And that's exactly what he did. However, he did not use the little thingies that he puts on people's heads this time, but he did walk out as the victor. So, Acticus Kroger won this match. Larry D makes his appearance here, taking on the monster Justin Kyle. I think this was a very interesting match because I don't think Larry D has ever stepped up in this type of environment. Like, there are wrestlers that could be a natural to it, others that just they need to develop more, and that's what Larry D was. But I'll give him credit that he put up a lot of effort to it, but he did not come out on top of this one. That was Justin Kyle until he put him down by power slamming down onto the ground. Next up is another member of 440 who is a buddy of Acticus Kroger, Eddie Only, taking on Neil Diamond Cutter. This is one of those matches. They even were fighting over a damn cigarette. Yeah, so that's what it was. I don't know if it was comedy or what, but it fit perfectly. But however, it was Neil Diamond Cutter that got away with the victory when he pinned Eddie Only. Next up, one of the most hated individuals in the planet, Brandon Kirk, taking on Mickey Knuckles. Now, this was supposed to be a tag match, but it was changed due to the fact that Mickey Knuckles' partner was unable to participate, but this time she went on and this became like an intergender type match, but she did came on top by knocking down Brandon Kirk. Excuse me. Oh. Next up, we got another member of 440, Bobby Beverly, or known as the Bev, taking on the American, the Deaf Samurai himself, Akira. This match was unbelievably good. I love Akira. He's one of my favorite wrestlers to watch on deathmatch scenes. But however, it was him that was able to make Bobby Beverly pass out and make the decision to call the match in his favor. Next match, we have, of course, another member of 440, Eric Ryan, to take on Sadiska. This was one of those matches was vicious, but however, Eric Ryan went up to extreme and did everything in his power. In the same thing scenario, Sadiska passed out and it ref called the match. Now our main event is the ICW American Deathmatch Championship between Dale Patrick and the champion John Wayne Murdoch. It was a pretty good match. It showed a lot. I think many fans who were watching this probably would have preferred Dale Patrick. I mean, I would agree with them. But however, John Wayne Murdoch is the face of ICW, and I think possibly that's the reason it happened. So, um, John Wayne Murdoch remain as the champion, but we'll see who will be his next challenger down the line. So I think that's pretty much it what we got with ICW No Holds Bars. So I think it's time to move on with NWA PowerrrSurge. Okay, so we got NWA PowerrrSurge hosted by the Fixers, Jay Bradley and Wrecking Ball Legursky. I don't know what this was about, but I think I give them credit for putting the effort. But they were booked themselves in the main event of PowerrrSurge. So let's go with the first match. We have Devin Graves taking on Rodney Mack. Now, this particular match, we get to see Rodney Mack in action. I never seen him in action. If you guys who know who Rodney Mack is the real life husband of WWE legend or women's legend herself, Jazz. Um, this is where we're seeing Rodney Mack, who is now sending a direct message to Jack Stain for insulting her by verbally saying mean things about her. And of course, he's a real ticked off person. But he took his frustrations out on Graves, and he paid the price for that. So basically, Rodney Mack wins the match by submission. Next up, we got Kylie Ray versus Maddie Rakowski. As you know, these two ladies are familiarized with each other. They met each other on various occasions on different independents, and I think it was a pretty good match to watch. But it was Kylie Ray who walked out as the victor, so basically she wins this one. Now we have the Fixers involved taking on Fable Jake and Miguel Robles. Now, this was more in favor of the Fixers, so that's what I thought when I saw this match, but it was okay because they were the host. So hopefully this will be the only time we see them as host, but we'll see what happens then. So I believe right now it's time for me to move on with AEW Dark. Okay, AEW Dark. As you know, we had 7 stacked matches. Opening match we have is the Bunny along with the Blade taking on Erica Lee. You can guess right now that Bunny put her in black, um, the black hole or whatever she calls it, and allowing herself to win the match. Or no, the rabbit hole. So she put her in the rabbit hole. It was over right there, right from the start. Next up, we have Daniel Garcia along with 2.0 taking on uh, Pat Brink, Rayo, and Kenta. But however, it was Daniel Garcia who picked up the victory by applying the Scorpion Deathlock and wrenching it hard enough for Pat Brink to win the match. However, during the post match, 2.0 and Daniel Garcia are now seeing a dissension with Inner Circle. As you know, Santana and Ortiz questioned Jericho, saying that maybe Eddie Kingston was right. Maybe you're the reason we haven't won the tag team titles. That is something that's being foretold, but we'll get to that when the day comes. Next up, Lance Archer taking on Joe Keys. Now, Joe Keys played it smart as much as possible, tried to dodge Lance Archer, but Lance Archer is a monster who cannot be put down until he finally gets you and he put you in the black hole slam or whatever he calls it, and boom, it was over right from there. Next up, we got Layla Jade taking on Janai Kai. As you know, this is more of a preview for a match between Layla Hirsch, Layla Hirsch against Red Velvet, but you can guess it was that infamous knee strike into the face to Janai Kai that allowed for Layla to win, and that kind of fits in to what's going to happen. Next up, we got the Dark Order, consistent of Evil Uno, Alan Five Angels, Alex Reynolds, and of course 10 taking on the combined forces of the Gun Club, Austin and Colton, along with their dad, versus along with the Acclaim. So basically, it was a pretty good match, but however, it was the Gun Club who took the victory by stealing one, and that kind of ends in that favor. Next up, we got Wheeler Yuta along with Chuck Taylor and Chris Statlander taking on Penta El Cero Miedo. I thought it was a pretty good match, and I think Penta really appreciated who Wheeler Yuta is. I think he's given him the amount of respect that he deserves, and I think that's really awesome of him, and I think he deserves hands down to be praised on that. Now, before we get to the main event, we had QT Marshall complaining about how he believed they were screwed out of the tag team titles for the factory. So basically, we had Nick Comoroto taking on Jungle Boy. You know that this is going to thought will fall into the favor of the factory, cheat their way through, but fortunately, it was Jungle Boy who put Nick Comoroto in that snare trap and forcing him to tap out, which was a very interesting victory. So I have to say it was pretty awesome. I enjoyed it, and that's pretty much it. But right now, I think it's time to do the final review, NXT 2.0. Okay, the last review we got is NXT 2.0. As you know, the Dusty Cup continues with two more matches in the first round, which is the last ones before we get to the semifinal rounds. First match of that, we have MSK taking on It's Jacket Time. I have to say, this was a really good match because it showed the competition between these two teams. As you know, MSK were last year's winners. They won the entire thing. Jacket Time, well, you can tell they can be a good stable tag team. But however, do we think they could possibly get to the end? I don't know, because we have seen MSK and other there are good tag teams, but Jacket Time hasn't been that much of established since some point in the fall of last year. But we'll see where they're gonna go. How we see how they progress during that time. But it was MSK that walked out as the victor. Excuse me. Now, speaking of the Dusty Cup, we cannot forget the women's coming up. Zoe Starks, who is normally Io Shirai's tag team partner. As you know, she is not clear to wrestle. She is not ready to be back. But she tried to convince Io that she could use a partner. Basically, knowing that if she wins the Dusty Cup, she could etch her name into that in history. That is something that Zoe Stark can see that could benefit her. But however, they she could start being opening up more to Zoe Starks. But the little conversation was interrupted with Daddy's little girl, Tiffany Stratton. So basically, that ticked Io Shirai off. But we'll get to that. Now, Cameron Grimes sent out a very strong message to none other than Tony D'Angelo. As you know, these two men will be facing in the main event for the challenge for the NXT North American title against Carmelo Hayes. Now, in the ring, we see Santos Escobar along with Legado giving out a promo telling exactly about Bron Breakker, how it makes him sick to his stomach, knowing that Bron Breakker beat him to the shot of the NXT title, who he believes that Bron Breakker and him are almost similar, but he thinks that he's more privileged than him. Bron Breakker had enough, came out and tried to confront him, and he told him to shut up in Spanish, which was kind of like a bit more surprising. But however, Santos, who's tried to downplay the entire time, saying, you're going to be doing this under my time, my rules, well, he tried to get away with it, but it did not work. But later they did had a chance to say that they will put up a tag team match, and if Bron Breakker can find partners of his choosing. But however, it appears that Rich Electra had something else in mind. Now, our next match is a no disqualification match between Solo Sikoa and Boa. This match is like one of the most intensified matches. Basically, it started from the ring and then it moved on to straight to the back. You can tell all the methods and toys that they've been using against each other to win this particular match. But however, it was Solo Sikoa who jumped off the turnbuckle and landed right on top of Boa through a table, allowing himself to win the match. Now, next match we have the return of Duke Hudson. As you know, we haven't seen him for quite some time. Last week he attacked Dante Jen and his opponent of the night, Guru Raj. This match went into the same favor, the same way as always, with Duke Hudson with an attitude, and that's what exactly happened. But however, during the post match, Dante Chen, who has some beef to grind against Duke Hudson, took him out through his knee, and that kind of will put him back on the shelf for a little while. But we'll see where they're going to go with that as well. Now, in recent times, we have been noticing how Kaylee Ray has been targeting the NXT Women's title. We got Indy and Persia want the NXT Women's Tag Team title, so they are knowing what this is going to be. Now they entered a match against all three members. Kaylee Ray has been trying to get her hands on Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose has been avoiding it until at some point, the turning point, Kylie Ray got exactly what she wanted, chased Mandy Rose, leaving Gigi Dolan and Jane to be on their own, and it ended in that favor. So that means the Indy, Hartwell, and Persia could have the opportunity to win the match. Now, in recent times, as you know, we talked about the Dusty Cup for the women's. Cora approached Raquel Gonzalez for a chance to team up, but of course, this is more about, Raquel, who believes that Cora may be good, but she's not that girl who should be her partner. So that kind of tells it. But Cora Jade's a bit more persistent on the matter. But we'll see where they're going to go with that too. Now let's go to the final match of the first round of the Dusty Cup. We have grizzled young veterans James Drake, Zach Gibson taking on, of course, Bodie Hayward and Andre Chase. I have to say there was a lot of good in-ring work on this one, where they try to separate Bodie Hayward away from Andre Chase, but it was just too much until finally it was grizzled young veterans that were able to pick up the victory. But come the post-match, they were viciously attacked by none other than Robert Stone and what's his name again? Oh, and Von Wagner, who has issues with them. But we'll see where they're going to go with that. Next up, we got is Io Shirai versus Tiffany Stratton. Now, this was a good match, and I think the commentators paid up a good choice. Now, Tiffany Stratton has challenged. This is her second match, but she never faced anybody like Io Shirai, and I think that kind of tells us yes. And of course, it did fell into Chase's favor to win the match in order to continue on. Then our main event. Well, before we get to the main event, we are going to expect a big event coming next week. We got Diamond Mine taking on Imperium. It's going to be a huge match, so we cannot forget about that. Now, our main event, we have, of course, Cameron Grimes versus Tony D'Angelo. The match was so good. It showed how much these two men wanted it. But however, Tony D'Angelo's moment has been taken from him by the appearance of Pete Dunne, and it kind of fits in perfectly. So basically, what's his name? Cameron Grimes wins by applying the cave-in, and boom, it was already over, right before he even knew what happened. So I think that's pretty much it. What we got with NXT. Oh no, I almost forgot. At the end of the show, Bron Breakker was leaving. Legado tried to take him out, but luckily he had backup that he did not expect, and that was none other than Tommaso Ciampa. So that kind of fools Legado's plans, but we'll see what's gonna happen this coming Saturday in the Rumble. But I don't know if any NXT stars will be making, but we'll find out soon enough. But I believe right now it's time for some news updates. Okay, so we got some 3 news updates that we want to put out for all of you. As you know, we have already witnessed 2 LA Fight events taking place. Well, a third one is coming out, Volume 3. It's going to take place exactly on the 26th of February, which is very interesting for me to watch. But we also learned it's going to be at the UCC LA, and of course, it was announced Peter Avalon will be making his debut. It's going to be a very fun match. I can't wait to see what he's going to do. And also, we're going to see who is he going to challenge. Hopefully, we'll get more information. Now, this next update, if you guys remember Gentleman Jack, he was one of the few wrestlers that was involved in the Cruiserweight division, even in 205 Live, until things changed for him 2 years ago in June of 2020, where he was being accused by the Speaking About movements of sexual allegations that took place in 2014. This sparked a lot of outcries for what's going on, what went down with pro wrestling. Gentleman Jack did confess, saying yes, he takes responsibility for what just happened, but he cannot remember exactly the details. So basically, he did request for his release. However, we haven't heard from him until now. The reason I'm mentioning him, it's just turned out that he has signed with Bare Knuckles Fighting Championship. Now, if you guys never heard of it, it's like a MMA promotion that only involves fist. You don't need gloves or anything, and that's what Gentleman Jack has been up to. He does have an expertise in MMA, so we'll see what happens then. But we'll keep apprised of that. Now, the final update is the Cosmic Angels. I want to say this, the Cosmic Angels has been one of my favorite factions or units in Stardom, and Tam Nakano has always mentioned this every time, that she wants the Cosmic Angels to be the best unit that the world has ever seen. And in this faction, they have. Ever since the start of just the 3, then the 5, they have won the 2021 Best Unit Award by the Weekly Grand Prix, whatever they call themselves, and they really did something great. I think many fans are happy for. But speaking of the Cosmic Angels, June 26th is a special day. It's in fact Waka Tsukiyama's birthday. So happy birthday, Waka! Hope you're having a great time. So I wish I can sing with you, but right now I'm not. so So that's pretty much what we got. I hope you guys leave a little comment for Waka telling her happy birthday. So I think that's pretty much it. So I think it's time for me to call it a day. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, me reviewing ICW with of course one of their past events from last October, and of course reviewing real timing events like NWA PowerrrSurge, AEW Dark, and NXT, and giving you guys some news updates. So coming up, we got, of course, a 3 review. One from Big Japan Pro Wrestling, which took place back in August, which I haven't done for quite some time. And then, of course, we got IWC with the Super Indie 20 that took place this past October of 2021. And, of course, we cannot forget AEW Dark with Beach Break. I'm excited for this particular event. So, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.